Welcome to the real review of Borderlands 2. This is your host, ID Jester. This is going to be a short video on a review of Borderlands 2 by Gearbox Software, and hopefully I can make some sense of everything. According to Steam, I have played 40 hours of this game so far, so I've spent quite a bit of time dealing with this game. And everything I've come across so far, I will give my thoughts and impressions of. First, the good. The good, there's hardly any in this game. The good is this interesting story and some interesting characters that you'll actually come across. It's also part of the good is that it's basically just a rehash of Borderlands 1, where you're running around killing things as quickly and as fastly as you can, so you can get better and more powerful loot. Now let's talk about all the bad things. The bad things, as you can see here, one of the things is, as I already mentioned, it's basically just a rehash of Borderlands 1, which is kind of good in a way, but it's also kind of bad. The graphics, as you can see, are barely any better than Borderlands 1. The new characters, there are 4 playable characters at start, unless you get any of the downloadable add-on packs. All the characters basically have the same kind of powers that they had in the old game. Again, like Borderlands 1, there's hardly any new skills. Each of the characters, the 4 main kind of characters, has their own special skill that they deal with. I'm an 18th level Gunzerker at this point. The Gunzerker class can deal dual weapon, 2 weapons at a time. The other character classes, the Commando has a turret that he brings into play. The Siren has a like a little bubble that he causes enemies to go into, and the other character class turns invisible for a few moments, which lets him sneak around or hide from enemies and then stab them in the back. As a rehash of Borderlands 1, it is a brand new story, which is part of the good. It's an interesting story. It is interesting characters you'll come across, but unfortunately, it's kind of a rehash of Borderlands 1, where you're just going from mission to mission and trying to gather more loot for yourselves. The loot system, again, is not very new or interesting. It's kind of just a rehash of all the other loot systems that are out there. Green items are your lower class items, blue are a little bit better, orange is better, and purple are better. And you basically spend, based on the level of the item, half your time trying to figure out what weapons are better than the weapons you have already in your inventory, and try to figure out what weapons you should be using. There are some weapons that are effective against shields, some that are effective against armor, there are some that are effective against flesh creatures, so there is some you want to try to have one of these weapons in your available slots in case you come across any of these weapons. So one that's good against flesh, one that's good against armor, maybe a good high damage weapon as well. The skills, the menu system is awful, terrible. As you can see, I can't actually hover over any of these weapons here and get any information. I actually have to go to that page. Once I go to that page, I can't compare it to any of the weapons I do unless I click on it, and then I can compare them side by side. But if I want to trade out or not trade weapons, I have to hit another button to get back to this menu. It's just awful. The same thing with the skills. Like I mentioned with the skills, it's basically just a rehash of all the skills from Borderlands 1 with different way of putting it down on the piece of paper. Regenerating health, or movement speed, or reload speed, consuming ammo, gaining extra clip size, not very interesting powers. They basically, all the characters do have a way of getting more better aiming or more ammo, or increasing their swap speed between weapons. They all have the same kind of general skills. There's hardly any individual uh, uniqueness to each of the characters. The only difference is where some of the skills relate to their main power. My gunzerking power for the gunzerker, I'm basically going to be having some skills that I will increase that time, increase my accuracy, or whatever for my gunzerking power. Obviously, the other characters wouldn't have that. So the menu's awful. The skills are rehashed. It's basically just a copy of Borderlands 1, which I find to be a problem because they're basically billing this as the brand new Borderlands, and I'm very disappointed with the outcome of this. Overall, I would give this a C minus or a D plus. I think as game aficionado and game reviewers, we should honestly give our impressions. I was very excited to have this game come out, and I thought that this is going to be something brand new to the genre, have some new interesting things. There are no new interesting things. I can go back and play Borderlands 1 and save all the money that I would spend in Borderlands 2. Hopefully Gearbox Software will get some bad reviews, although most of the reviews out there have been very positive. I would hate to see Borderlands 3 when it comes out to be just another rehash of Borderlands 2. I think they need to bring something new and unique to the system, something better loot system. If they want, they can get a hold of me, and I will tell them and show them how to design a better loot system that maybe somebody they was at their company that designed, because it's just not interesting, and you spend half your time trying to figure out what all the different guns do and which one's better. And overall, the story does keep you interested in the game, because Handsome Jack, which is your main nemesis in this game, you want to get to the end of the game so you can kill him, punch him in the face for all the bad things that he's done. Besides that, besides the new story and the interesting characters, there's nothing new, nothing interesting about Borderlands 2. I would not recommend anyone pick this game up until the price comes way down, and hopefully Gearbox will see that. But unfortunately, with all the hype and all the interest this game has generated, all the good reviews of this game, I'm sure they're going to keep the same format for the next Borderlands, which I will unfortunately not be buying, because I'm not going to be playing the same game over and over again with just a new story and having them charge me full price for something they could have just put as a downloadable pack for the last game. If they would have just designed this story for Borderlands 1, then that's one situation, and it would definitely be recommended by me. But this is a brand new game with hardly any new updates, nothing new, nothing interesting, and just not worth the price that they're asking you to pay. Plus, you're not even going to get the full game. You've got to buy probably 4 or 5 expansion packs that they'll be coming out with. And all in all, if you're paying full price for it, you're going to be spending over $100 for a game that's basically just exactly like Borderlands 1. So this is the real review. If you're a Borderlands aficionado, if you played Borderlands 2, please leave your thoughts and comments. I will be would like to debate all the pros and cons of Borderlands 2 with anyone out there that's listening. Please do let your friends know that I have reviewed this game and given my impressions of it, if anyone has anything to say about it. But I think as game players, we need to let the game company know that we're not going to be paying full price for games that don't show any kind of new interest or new design or new development into any genre whatsoever. Well, that's it. Be sure to leave your thoughts and comments. I will debate with you as much as you want. And for the pros for Borderlands 2, as an overall, the story is interesting. There are some interesting characters, and it makes you interested in the story just because of what's happening. The cons is the menu system, number one, is horrible. A not very intuitive loot system, boring loot system. These game manufacturers need to get away from this green and blue items. They need to start designing something a little bit better for loot systems. And overall, the graphics are not that much better than Borderlands 1. I could have a screenshot of Borderlands 1 up here, or be playing Borderlands 1, and you wouldn't know that much of a difference between the graphics. Certainly not an effort that I would expect for Borderlands, for a game that it was so well hyped and so well reviewed. I was expecting so much more, and unfortunately I got so little with it. So please do leave your thoughts and comments. This is the 5-minute real review by ID Jester. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.